Hi guys! So today we made a interesting video. We tried doing a special type of pour with a paint mixture that was just a little bit too thick. Are you curious to see what happens? Check it out! This first step, we're going to strain the floetrol. You need a small strainer, it's fine mesh, and a cup. My floetrol has already been pre-mixed, and it was pre-strained, but you're going to see that there's always a small amount of residue or chunks in it. So just pour it over the strainer and wait for it to go through. Takes a little bit of time, but it's not too bad. I'm going to use this mixture in all of the paint, so I poured more than I think I need. Rinse out your strainer after you use it so nothing gets stuck and dried in it. Since I know that this floetrol and water mix is going to be too thick already because I'm using Artist Loft paint level 1 from Michaels, I'm just going to add a small amount of water right now and mix it up so that I don't need to add as much water later on. It'll be a lot easier. Quite thick. It's a little bit better. Can't really see it right now, but I'll show you on it. That way all of our paints are exactly consistent. So the colors I chose today are all opaque or semi-opaque rather than transparent colors. So we have our mix of floetrol and water. And let's get mixing. So our mix ratio is 3 parts floetrol water mixture, 1 part paint. Floetrol. Since we're using Liquitex Basics or Artist Loft level 1, we're going to end up with the same thickness once we mix it because we're using pre-mixed floetrol and water. These are little mixing cups that you could use. These are even better mixing cups that you can use because they're clear. You can see if it's really mixed up well at the base, but I don't have enough of these today. So here we are. So I'm just going to approximately put of the cup and then less of the paint. Time to add the paint to the floetrol mixture. Cerulean Blue Artist Loft, Dioxazine Purple, Liquitex Basics, Turquoise Blue, Liquitex Basics, Aqua Green, there we go, and you already saw me put in the Artist Loft Brilliant Blue. Gonna need a paper towel and something to stir with. Popsicle sticks work. These are just swizzle sticks. They wipe off easy. And we're just gonna mix up in here. You have to mix for quite a while and be very thorough. Make sure you scrape the sides of your cup. All right, so we have the paint colors mixed up, and I'm going to add in my pre-mixed white. I have a larger bottle that I have prepared. It's about the same consistency, but I'm just going to use it to make the paint flow smoother off the canvas. Today I chose a 10-inch by 10-inch canvas from Artist's Loft, which should need about 4 ounces of paint. And we have way more than that, so let's see how it goes. So to prepare the canvas, we're going to use a palette knife or any other way that you want to spread the paint around. And I'm just going to put an amount of paint and spread it around. The reason I just want my pour to be able to flow and not grab and curl on the edges as I spread it. So you just put enough to wet it. You don't have to do this, you can skip this step, but I just think it works better. Holds the shape better. And that's all. Now that we have this prepped, let's get our gloves on, grab a funnel, and let's start layering the paint inside the funnel. I'll just use a bit of white, get it started here. You want to keep some pressure on the funnel to keep it tight. Add a little bit of white in. Now this is going to be quite a bit more paint than we need for this small canvas, but I just wanted to demonstrate. So I think it's good to have a little bit more than a bit less when you're starting out. Now we're just going to lift it very slowly. And I'm going to move it. You don't have to move it, you can keep it all in one spot. But sometimes you end up with some pretty interesting patterns when you move it a little. Now before it runs off the canvas, obviously my table's not level right now for some reason. Just gonna move it back to the center before... Oh, my rack is not sitting in there. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. I'm just trying to get it back to the center of the canvas. I don't want to move it too much. I'm going to grab my torch. I'm going to quickly, just briefly pop some bubbles. I'm going to start moving it around. You can also spin these. Okay. Let's spin it out and see what happens. So this is just a cheap spinner from Michael's that I stuck a piece of wood on. because it's too small for my larger pores. Wow. The inside of that funnel. Right. Let's see what happens when we spin it. Spinning is quite messy, just so you know. It does get everywhere and on everything, so you do need to protect your floors and along with your tabletop and anything else you don't want covered in paint. Oh, here we go. Don't spin it too quick unless you want a little bit of a cleanup. Let's see. See how there's a white haze over everything? That's from my white paint. That's a risk you take when you put white and you use a thicker consistency in your pores. If you do a nice thinner pour, sometimes your colors mix together and you have perhaps not the desired result either. But you don't end up with a thick haze on your painting either. Just gonna see if this moves at all. There's not a lot of paint on there. So I'm going to take a little bit of the excess paint and just go around, get my corners covered. If anything else is not covered, I'm gonna cover it as well. Now you can see what's starting to happen is we're starting to get some of the base popping through as white cells and white dots. So we're just going to leave this and let it develop. I'm not a huge fan of this white hazy area, so I'm just going to blow through it. I'm just going to try to improve the composition by dragging through it a little. Wow. That's not what I was expecting to happen. Okay. Let that just kind of flow together. Even when you've completed pouring and stretching out your painting, you can continue to add small amounts of paint or really anything to it that you wish while the paint is wet. Here I'm just adding a very small amount of paint using the tip of my mixing brush. You could use a paintbrush or you could use many other things to add some paint or some details that you feel are lacking. I'm using the remaining paint that's in the funnel on the edges because they looked really thin. Here I'm using a straw to blow out the paint from the funnel so that it blends a little bit more. Sometimes this adds interesting effects to the paint as well. You can even blow through any area of the painting that you wish. So when you have a painting that doesn't turn out how you expected, you can continue playing with it using straws, moving the paint around, tilting it, maybe adding a little bit of embellishments with small amounts of paint. Or you can just scrape the whole thing off, salvage the paint for another practice piece to use as a base. Or you can just smile and laugh at all the paint that you got in your hair because you didn't tie it up. And know that it was kind of fun, and this is how you learn and this is how you grow. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.